Okay, so welcome to chapter one. We're going to try to break this into three micro lectures so that we're all on the same page. Um, Welcome to Intro to Finance. We're going to do our best here to keep it all together. If you have any questions, email me or send a message in the Blackboard and we'll try to get it done. Okay, so chapter one is all about an introduction to finance, what it is, where we come from, and trying to figure out what it is that companies do. And so in finance, let's skip some of the stuff. In corporate finance, the very first thing, and note that when we talk about corporate finance, I'm going to see if I can't do some of this fancy stuff. When we talk about corporate finance, what's important here is the corporate part, right? We're going to spend the entire semester or most of the semester talking about what it is or how it is that money moves inside of a company, hence corporate. And the last week, we'll spend some time talking about personal finance. And that's just kind of an add-in to make sure that we can transition some of these skill sets into your own personal life. And that's where I think we get a lot of value for you personally, and it all finally, you know, comes together. Um, but the very first question we would like to ask is, what is it that managers should do to create value for the shareholders? What is the most important decision? I'm trying to, what is it that, the, what is a financial professional's primary, primary goal? So what is it that you're trying to do? What uh, and the way we talk about this is trying to generate wealth for their investors. Okay, so that's the most important thing that financial professionals can do. And this is important because we're talking about different sets of interest holders. There are shareholders, there are managers, there are bondholders or debt holders. And a financial professional, sometimes, particularly in large companies, needs to balance out how they intend to move their money. And as we'll talk about here in another one of these micro lectures, those are not always the same thing. Debt collectors or like banks or bondholders aren't necessarily interested in maximizing profits. They're interested in getting their payments. Shareholders aren't necessarily always interested in paying debt holders, which that's not completely true. They are interested in paying debt holders, but they're interested to create profits for themselves, for the shareholders. And managers, well, they just, they've got to figure out a way to blend those together. And as financial professionals, we've got to figure out how we're going to do that. So there's a bunch of different places where you guys can create future careers here. There's corporate finance, commercial banking, investment banking, money management, consulting. There's a lot of interest by many students to go into things like, there's a couple in here which would be technically under money management. That might be something like retirement or financial advisors, um, insurance sales. That's a big one. Um, and these are all financial professionals. And so some of the things that professors like to do is stuff like financial forecasting or investment analysis. Sometimes we look at this stuff and we try to see what banks are doing from a regulatory perspective. But this class is all about teaching you the primary financial tools that'll get you to do some of these other jobs. And you should consider many of these types of careers, and you'll be very surprised to find that they're not just available in places like Chicago or New York, but right here in your hometown, wherever that may be. So the five the five corporate the five corporate finance functions include external financing, capital budgeting, financial management, corporate governance, and risk management. I would take the time to look at these in your book. You may see these again. External financing is all about how money comes into the company. You'll see me do these cheesy little drawings throughout the entire semester. It's just my way of trying to visualize the company. And so this is going to be, your company and how does money get in? And there's two primary ways that money gets in. It gets in from shareholders in terms of equity, and it comes in turn of debt. So there's two ways that money gets into I should probably be doing this in green. It gets in from shareholders and it comes in from debt. I like that. I'm going to play some more with those highlighting functions. This is going to be fun. All right, so capital budgeting is about how we move money, how we decide to take on projects, which investments are worth taking and which investments are not. We'll spend the middle of the chapter. This is going to be, we're going to spend a lot of time here in the middle of the class. Financial management is about how we move money inside the firm. Here you can think about things like cash flow analysis, uh, making sure we pay bills, and receive, accounts payables, and just making sure that money's getting moved around inside the company to all the places that it needs to be. Uh, Corporate governance is a very popular hot topic that we're doing. Let me do this in black. A very popular topic these days because this is all about setting up management, how management sets up strategic rules for money management, for money management. And this could be the way the board of directors want money to flow, or it could be uh, creating ethical regulations or internal ethical regulations for a company and how that money gets moved around, how much validation each and every employee should have in the manner in which they spend money. And finally, last but not least, is risk management. This is one that often gets overlooked, and this is about minimizing. Can I just do a Control Z? Yes, I can. This is about minimizing. This is about minimizing risk. This is what we're doing here. Minimizing risk. This can be, noting what international exchange rates look like. Maybe the peso is increasing in value or decreasing in value, and if you have a foreign investment, you've got to figure out how to do that. It could be that inflation is increasing, and as a financial professional, you've got to kind of look at what those inflation rates are going to look like at the time and what that's going to do to your supply chain costs and that kind of stuff. So these are the 5 corporate financial functions. I would take the time to look at those in the book and make sure you get a good handle on them. And here they are one at a time. Capital budgeting, risk management, corporate governance, and then we look at what companies do. So before we continue too far, let's take a quick look at what actual companies do inside of their actual work. Do red. So capital structure is something that we're going to look at a lot. Capital structure is the way that money comes into the firm. And so this basically says what percentage is debt, what percentage is equity, and at some point we'll talk about preferred equity, but that's not a big deal for us right now. And this this pie chart, think of it as a pie chart, will tell you how much of your total money is debt. So let's say that's the middle right there. So this might be debt, and this might be equity. And so our capital structure in this case leans heavily on equity. All this is equity, equity, equity. So this is 75% equity, and that's our capital structure, and 25% debt. And so this is what CFOs think about all the time, right? I mean, if you look at these top 5, it's a capital structure. Debt issuance is a capital structure. Working capital management is more of a transaction deal. Banking relationships, tax management is where they spend the majority of their time. If you look down at the very bottom, we don't worry about internal audits as often because these happen seasonally usually by year. Something like an equity issuance is something that doesn't happen a lot. So we talk about stuff like IPOs, and we'll talk about that kind of thing here. So it's very interesting, but it's not necessarily something that financial professionals, I shouldn't move with that too much, financial professionals worry about all the time.